Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would share a creative layout with you all that we can make together. I've had a heap of these little leftover pieces of paper in my painted garden collection from Creative Memories, and I thought, you know what, let's not waste all these little bits. And I set about yesterday actually making a bunch of paper flowers. And when I get started with paper flowers, I generally can't stop. So my idea for today is just to smother my page in flowers. Paper flowers make me happy. I love creating them. I can get quite lost with the time when I start making these little guys. I've got a dual layered version as well as just the single version, and I've used the piece by piece punch set from Creative Memories, both the petal punch as well as the star punch. So we'll get started. I'm going to share how I brought these little flowers together in case you're new here. But to begin with, you're going to need some of your designer papers, and we'll work on our background first. So I've got two contrasting papers here, and I want to cut both of these down to 10 inches by 10 inches. Now I am also going to be working with the Floral Peaks border punch. I love this punch. It sort of has a really nice lace effect when you punch the paper. So I am going to be working with this for my background. So I'm going to trim this lighter piece of paper first. And this piece will be going in behind our Floral Peaks frame that we're going to punch. So we can cut this one down to 10 by 10. Actually, you know what? Let's cut it a little bit smaller. Just a fraction. Let's go 9 3/4 by 9 3/4. Nothing like changing your mind. Keep these strips because these are the strips I'm talking about. You can make flowers from these. You can make a border, card, whatever you like. So 9 3/4, because I want this a fraction smaller as it's going in behind the frame. And then this second piece of paper, this piece of paper, I will cut to 10 by 10. So the first square was, the lighter square was 9 3/4 by 9 3/4. This square is going to be 10 inches by 10 inches. Like so. Okay, so I now need to remove the center of this paper because this is going to be a punched frame. So what we need to do, I'm just going to hold up my 12-inch trimmer here. And you can see down the bracket here that you've got your inch increment measurements, and we are going to be using these today. We're also going to be taking note of this little marking on the side of our blade housing unit. Basically what you want to do is align your paper at the 2-inch mark here on the left, like so. I'm then going to turn my 12-inch trimmer sideways. Now this blade housing unit, it won't start cutting until you push down, but I'm moving it down until that white line is in line with the 2-inch marking on our bracket here. And that's where I'm going to start cutting. And I'm going to stop when I get 2 inches from the bottom. So because this is a 10-inch square, that will be when we get to 8 inches. So we're just going to cut that short distance on our paper. So I'll make sure that's lined up correctly, and I'm just checking the side there, and I'm going to stop when I get to the 8-inch mark. So I'm going to take the paper and I'm going to rotate it, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. So line that up at 2 inches. I'll just close that. And then we can start cutting when we get to 2 inches there on the side. And I'm going to stop when I get to 8 inches. Keep making my way around until we remove that center, and we're leaving a 2-inch wide border on this 10-inch paper. Okay, start at the top again, 2 inches down to 8. This will be our final rotation. So 2 inches down to 8. And you've now got another little square of scrap paper that you can use for flowers if you like. Now once we punch this frame out, that first square of paper is going to sit in behind it. So that's why you will see a little bit of that light up paper. But we're actually going to punch around the inside of this square. So what you're going to need to do is bring it in diagonally. Now you don't want to fold those corners too sharply. I'm just sort of putting a little bit of a gentle crease, and I want to be able to see the green side on my layout. So I'm actually folding wrong sides together, if that makes sense. Okay, so what I'll do, I'm going to unlock my Floral Picks punch, and I'm actually going to turn it over, and you can see that it has quite a definitive edge here that you can see, and that's what we're going to be lining our paper up against. So I'm just going to carefully insert that into my punch, and you want to have it so you can just see here on the camera, there's my corner. Well, that corner's got to go right up into the side of that punch there. So I'll slide that up, and when that corner is touching the edge here, then I can punch, and confetti will go everywhere. There we go. Now I'm going to just slide that back in here, into the punch, and I'm just going to line up this straight edge again, keeping it folded, making sure that's even. I'm going to place that back into my punch and make sure that that edge comes right up against the side of the punch again to continue our punch evenly, and punch. Now you can see here I've got these little tags that have been left. I don't want you to worry if that happens to you, because we can go in with our little scissors and remove those, so don't stress too much. So I'm actually going to stop there. I'm not going to make my third punch, but I'm going to come back up here to our little corner piece, and what I want to do is just reinsert that into my punch, but this time I'm going to align this corner with the bottom straight edge of the punch. So very simple. Insert that back in and punch. Okay, so now we can flip that over, and we're going to begin down our other side. So again, we're just going to insert it into our punch and make sure that corner is all the way on that edge, and punch. Making sure that those two sides stay folded together, lining up that straight edge, and punch. So that's our second punch. So now I'm going to come back and just go into my corner on the opposite side of the punch. So I've lined it up to this bottom edge. So the corner of that paper, the top corner, is right in the corner of my punch. Put that over so I don't have confetti go everywhere, and I'm going to punch that out. It would be easier for you now, while it's in this stage, to just trim any of those little extra pieces that you just missed a little bit. You trim them off. I had one there, and I had another down here, and I'm just inserting my scissors and removing them now. Okay, really simple to do. So what we need to do now is open that back out. If you want to, just so they're not going to be getting caught up, just remove those longer pieces that are hanging off there, because you don't want to get them caught in your punch. And it's becoming to feel a little flimsy now because we have removed some of the paper from this frame. So just carefully refold the opposite corner, and I'm certainly not creasing those punched edges in any way. And you just want to line up your punched edges together, and we're going to reinsert into the punch and punch all the way through that other corner. So I'll just show you again. This straight edge here will be lined up to the straight edge on the punch here. And I've moved my layers there. There we go. And punch. And just the same thing, we're going to align this corner to the bottom edge and this corner here on our punch. Just carefully insert that so it's nice and straight, and punch. And I've just been a little bit shy there with my little punch, so I'm just going to remove it with my scissors now. Same thing for the other corner. I've just turned it over. I'm going to repeat the exact same steps. We're nearly there. Punch. Just remove any little overhang strip that you have with your scissors. And our final little punch, just taking off that sharp corner. So what you're going to be left with is a really pretty frame. Now, I've just got to get this confetti out of the way. I've got it everywhere. Okay, so I'm bringing back in that lighter toned 9 3/4 square that we cut. And I'm going to be able to adhere this frame over the light colored. Now the reason I went for that light colored because I really wanted this delicate edge to really pop on the frame. So it all came down to, you know, how I wanted it to look aesthetically on my page. I'm just gently going to massage out those little crease lines, and they will come out because I didn't fold them sharply. And with my repositionable tape, I'm just going to stick that down now into place. So I'll just turn that over and add adhesive to the back of my frame. Okay, so with my frame all complete, I'm going to bring back in another contrasting piece of designer paper that this is going to be stuck down to. Now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to add just a little bit of a very simple frame around our border here. Now, to conserve paper, you can remove the center of your background page. By all means do so if that's what you would like to do. But I'm going to actually just create some corner pieces and a secondary little frame to go around that border. So to do so, I'm going to bring in this lighter green. And from that, I'm going to cut one circle with the large circle cutting template and red blade on the inside track. So I'll just bring in my red blade, and I'm just going to cut that one circle like so. And I'm also going to cut some very thin strips of paper. I can bring back in my 12-inch trimmer. And when I say very thin, I'm talking about probably 1/8 of an inch. And they're going to be 12 inches in length. So we'll need 4 of those. Sometimes the most simplest of shapes and smallest amount of paper that you add to your page to build layers, it makes such an impact to the overall finish of your layout. And I mean, you can see here, it's a very simple process that I'm using to create an extra frame around my page. Okay, so that's all we need from that paper. I'll bring back in the orange. Now what I think I'll do, I've got some of the adhesive dots here. These were part of a recent promo with Creative Memories, and I like to use them to just hold my paper in place. You may have seen me do this before. I will actually remove some of the adhesive just on my shirt or on my finger, so that it's not going to be too sticky, but just enough to hold the paper. I'm going to place 1 dot in the top corner of my cutting mat, and I'm going to place the second down the bottom. And because we've removed some of the adhesive, it's going to be very easy to take off our paper and off our cutting mat without leaving any residue. But we can stick that in place so that it's not going to move. You could also use a little bit of repositional tape if you wish. But what I need to do now, I just want to cut my circle in half, and it's very easy to do so. You just push that circle as far as it will go in between the tracks there. Cut through the half like so. And I'm going to do the exact same process. We want to cut that in half again. So just push it as far as that will go into those tracks, and you can align the straight edge across the bottom, and that will cut it perfectly in half again. So you're going to have 4 pieces there to your circle. And I'm just going to bring my square back in as a guide before we start sticking things into place. Just bring my silicone mat over so I'm not going to get adhesive over everything. But essentially, I'd like these lighter green strips to just frame the outside of my punched frame, and then these little circle quarters will be in the corner. So you want to make sure that you're getting your little green pieces all lined up neatly how they need to go. I'm going to stick them, just looking at my cutting mat, I'm going to stick them 1/4 inch away from all of the edges. So we can add the repo tape. I always use my repositionable tape for things like this, because if I need to pull things off and move them, I can. And you know how often I change my mind. We'll stick the bottom piece, then we'll go to the top piece, and those little adhesive dots are holding my page in place nicely so it's not moving all around. Okay, so that has our little strips all evenly placed around the outside. So now we can add our little half circles, or quarter circles I should say, and they'll just go directly into the corner. All right, so you can see just that little bit of interest that has added to our page. And now I can add my square. As I said, you can remove the center of that background if you choose, and I welcome you to do so. Okay, so I'm going to set the background page to the side for now, and we'll have a little chat about our paper flowers. I'm going to bring in just some of my scrap pieces here. But to create each flower, I first needed to cut a base for the petals to stick to. And I'm bringing in my smallest circle cutting template and red blade. and I'm going to cut one from there. Now you could use Creative Memory circle punch, but what I found was this size was just a little bit too big for the single layered flowers. I did indeed use the Creative Memory circle punch to back the dual layered, and I've just wrapped 2 layers of the petals around that circle, so that's just a handy little tip. I didn't make too many of the dual layered because they are quite large, and I do want to be able to feature quite a few flowers on my page. Okay, so I'll then work to punch some of the petals from the piece by piece punch set. And look, they usually take about 8 petals, so I'll just punch 8 away. 6, 7, 8. And then all I need to do is just add some adhesive tape to that base and just make my way around with the petals. I overlap them just a little bit. If you're using the repositionable tape, you can always peel some of the petals off and reposition them if they're not sitting where you would like them to sit. I'll just keep making my way around, and you'll have that little space in the middle for your flower center. Let's move that one a little bit. And it only took 7, so there you go. You can see it doesn't take a lot to be able to create these. And then if I bring in the star petals there, this will be the center of our flower. Just punch one, and we can just add that to the center of the bloom, like so. You could do 2 of those overlapping each other. That would look really sweet as well. And I'm just going to bring in some of these adhesive rhinestones from the Painted Garden collection and finish it off with one in the center. So you can see how simple they are to make. For my leaves, I've used my 5-leaf punch. I don't think this is available anymore, but it was one of my most favorite punches. And I've just used that to punch some leaves, but you can use whatever leaf punch you have on hand. You could even cut your own. It's quite easy to do. So I've already cut my photo mats down. I've allowed for 2 5" by 3.5" photos, but again, you can use whatever size or quantity you like when it comes to your photos. So the frame is 5 by 3.5, which means you would trim your photos down to 4.75 by 3.25. I'm just going to have them adhered on an angle like so on my page, so I can get those into place, and then we can begin to start sticking all of our gorgeous blooms into place. And now this is where I say to you, how many flowers is too many flowers? I don't think you can have too many. I'm just going to position these either side of our photos, layering them over the top of each other, tucking them in underneath. And if I have got any flowers left over, well, I can for certain create another page, or I can create another project like a card or such. Just adding them. Oh, I'm happy with the position. Got some fairly neutral toned blooms as well. Now, what makes the difference with your page is when you start to add your leaves. And I'm going to add the little punched leaves that I had. These are also like a little space filler, so if you've got any little gaps that you want to fill, they're great for adding that balance and filling those gaps. But this is where your page will really come to life, is when you add all of your leaves. I've just lost my flower there. There we go. It's just a matter of getting them into position how you like them to look, overlapping if you like. You've got your own little paper garden going on. Like so. And then we can add some to the top of our page for balance as well. So when you're happy with the position of those, then you can set about and adhere them into place. I am actually going to add some of my flowers with foam squares because you just want to be able to create that dimension on your page. Okay, so with my flowers all stuck down in place, it's time to start adding some little extra embellishments. And I love this little flowers sign from the sticker sheet, which I'm going to tuck in. I'll just get my smaller foam squares for the back of this one. And I'm just going to tuck that in and amongst my cute little flowers there. And of course we might need a little bumblebee. And again, just with a foam square. So I can add that to the bottom. And I'll just finish with a little, I think we need a partial leaf behind our flower, just for balance. I think I'll remove that gemstone there. It's just a little bit bulky. There we go. We just want it poking out behind our little quote card. And I've also got this little sticky here. I'm not sure if it'll fit in. I must have flowers, which is very sweet. I must have flowers, paper flowers. So again, I'll just layer that. So there we have it, friends, our completed page. There is certainly a lot going on in this page design, and I think it would be perfect as a title page for your album, or just if you'd like to try something different. Thanks so much for watching today. Don't forget, if you like this video, to give me a thumbs up because it really does help support my creative channel. But for now, take care and I will see you very soon. Bye.